Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive's Boardroom Masterclass. We're continuing our look at the big challenges facing leaders.
And today's is a big one. Information, or rather, the overload of it.
Exactly. Something you wrestle with, every single day. Open your phone, your email. It's just a flood.
It is. But for you, navigating that, it's more than just a daily hassle. It's a absolutely critical skill.
And when we talk about boardrooms, about those really high-stakes decisions.
Well, getting the information wrong there isn't just, annoying. It's dangerous, genuinely.
Absolutely. The sources we've looked at for this deep dive, they really lay it out quite starkly. They pose this question, and it's really central for us today. In a world just swamped with misinformation, how can boards make ethical decisions?
And, this isn't just about staying generally up to date. The material makes it clear.
It's deeper than that.
Much deeper. It's about protecting the actual integrity of the foundation of crucial decisions.
Yeah.
Decisions that impact, well, everything. Companies, employees, communities.
The whole economy, potentially. Right. And the sources explore these challenges, the information environment we're in now, but they also offer some practical strategies.
Strategies for keeping your judgment sound, even when it feels like the ground is shifting constantly.
Exactly, when everything feels shaky.
So, okay, let's start unpacking this new reality, this new battlefield, as the sources call it, misinformation.
Yeah, and we're way beyond simple clickbait now, aren't we?
Oh, far beyond.
The scale, the sophistication, it's completely different. We're talking misinformation, disinformation, false stuff spread accidentally, or sometimes spread very intentionally to deceive.
And the examples the sources give are things we see constantly.
All the time. Fake news stories, incredibly realistic deep fakes.
Yeah.
Those fake videos or audio clips.
Terrifyingly realistic sometimes.
They really are.
Yeah.
Making it look like someone said or did something they never did. And then there are those social media outreach cycles that just flare up.
Seemingly out of nowhere. And what's really striking is who this stuff targets. It's not just, the general public scrolling randomly.
No, the sources are specific here. This is aimed at CEOs, shareholders, even board members themselves.
And often they might not even realize they're consuming something false or manipulated.
Which leads directly to serious consequences. The material is very clear on this point. Bad information leads to bad decisions. It's almost inevitable.
Makes sense. If your understanding of the market or a competitor or even what the public thinks is based on lies,
then the decisions you make based on that understanding are going to be flawed right from the start.
And the sources list some pretty grim outcomes.
They do. Things like risky investments based on totally false trends, huge PR disasters trying to fix a problem that wasn't even real to begin with.
A total breakdown in trust with stakeholders because your actions seem illogical or maybe based on hidden motives.
And even, potential legal liabilities down the line.
So the core principle here, the thing the sources keep coming back to, is that pretty simple truth. When the source is shaky, the decisions become shaky.
You just can't build solid ethical judgment on a foundation of sand. Lies and inaccuracies.
Precisely. And there's one major accelerant in all this, isn't there? Something that takes that shaky info and just gives it rocket fuel.
Ah, yes. The platform's designed to connect us all.
Social media, the amplifier of chaos. It feels like such a paradox.
It really does. Tools for connection end up amplifying the most divisive, the most harmful stuff.
But the sources explain why, right? It's the algorithms.
Exactly. They're built for engagement, for clicks, shares, reactions, not for accuracy, not for truth.
So that headline that makes you angry or shocked?
That's the one that flies. It spreads way, way faster than any careful factual correction ever could. It's just baked into the system.
And there's a psychological piece too, isn't there? The sources mention this.
Yes, what you see over and over again because the algorithm keeps pushing it. It starts to feel true.
Just through repetition, sheer visibility in your feed.
Right. It sort of bypasses your critical thinking.
So the practical takeaway here, and this is vital, not just for boards, but really for anyone making decisions.
For anyone.
Is you have to pause before you react to that viral story that seems to affect your brand or your company. Pause.
Verify first. Always. The sources warn, rushing to fix something based on bad info. That's how you create a real problem trying to solve a fake one.
Okay. So the landscape is messy, the problem's real, stakes are high. Let's shift now. What can boards, what can leaders actually do?
Right, moving to solutions, navigating the noise.
And the emphasis seems to be less on perfection and more on being prepared, resilient.
Exactly. And preparation starts with fundamental skills. The material really hammers the need to sharpen critical thinking,
Meaning?
meaning board members need to be asking tough questions. Every single time significant information comes across the table, don't just accept data.
What sort of questions should they be asking?
The sources give some great examples, really direct ones, like, where did this actually come from? Who benefits if we believe this? Financially, politically, whatever.
Okay.
And maybe the most important one, what don't we know yet? What are the gaps here? Just asking those can flag problems immediately.
And it's not just about the mindset. It's also tools, right?
Yeah.
Fact-checking isn't just for journalists anymore.
Not at all. The sources point to tools readily available. Snopes, factcheck.org, people know the names.
Sure.
But the key is understanding how they work. They trace claims, they check methodologies, and there are things like browser extensions too, like NewsGuard.
Oh, yeah. How does that work?
It uses actual human analysts to rate news site reliability before you even click. It's like a first line of defense.
Proactive.
Yeah. And the problem's so big now. The sources note some companies are actually hiring specific information analysts just to help leadership sift through it all.
Wow. That really shows you the scale of the issue. And beyond tools, beyond individual skills, there's the culture in the room. Healthy skepticism.
Yes, this is crucial. Building a culture where asking those tough questions, even the uncomfortable ones, isn't just okay, it's expected, encouraged.
Like, it's part of the job.
Exactly. The sources say a big red flag is when everyone around the board table agrees too quickly.
Because that might mean assumptions aren't being tested.
Precisely. Disinformation might just be sailing right through because no one's pushing back.
So it sounds like dealing with this information chaos, it's not just technical, it's tied deeply into leadership itself.
Oh, absolutely.
Good.
The sources make that connection explicit. Handling disinformation effectively is ethical leadership now.
They even call ethical behavior a competitive advantage in this era.
Which is insightful. And what's really interesting is how they describe ethical leaders in this context. It's not about pretending you know everything.
Right. It's the opposite.
It's acknowledging uncertainty, being okay saying, look, we don't have all the answers yet. Not faking confidence.
And being willing to change course, to admit when maybe you got something wrong based on bad info.
Yes, and correcting it quickly, transparently. That takes real integrity.
And then communicating clearly themselves, speaking truthfully even when the truth is, difficult.
That straightforwardness is such a vital counterpoint to all the deception out there.
And the payoff for this kind of leadership, this ethical, transparent approach in the face of all this noise.
Trust. Plain and simple. The sources are really clear. It builds trust inside the company, with employees, and outside, with customers, shareholders, the public.
And trust feels like gold dust in this current environment.
Incredibly fragile, incredibly valuable. So building and keeping it is paramount, which leads to the next point. Policies that matter, structural things boards can do.
Right. Embedding good practices into how the organization actually works, not just relying on individual judgment.
Exactly. The sources mention things like creating formal protocols, documented steps for vetting critical information before it gets used in big strategic decisions.
Makes sense, like a quality control check for information.
Pretty much. And actual training. Board members, senior execs,
Yeah.
they need training on media literacy, how to spot disinformation tactics, how propaganda works.
Recognizing manipulation techniques.
Yes. It's like building up the organization's collective immune system against bad information.
And transparency isn't just a leadership trait here, it's a policy point too.
Definitely. Communicating clearly with stakeholders. Being upfront about what you know, but also what you don't know yet, what you're still figuring out.
Because pretending you have all the answers when you don't.
Erodes trust faster than anything. The sources argue that being honest about the messy reality actually earns more respect.
Okay, and then the sources widen the lens a bit. This isn't just one company's problem.
No way, it's global. It requires collective action.
So what does that look like?
Well, they suggest things like partnering with the tech companies, pushing them for more transparency about how stuff spreads on their platforms, how the algorithms work.
Holding them accountable, essentially?
And supporting education, big time. Championing media literacy programs, critical thinking skills, not just in schools, but all the way up. Corporate training, exec education.
Because we all need these skills now.
Everyone. And fundamentally, it takes a kind of collective courage. Standing up for truth. Actively pushing back on falsehoods, even when it's easier or more convenient to stay quiet.
Because the warning from the sources is pretty stark, isn't it?
It is. Disinformation thrives when good people stay silent. It needs that vacuum.
So inaction isn't really an option.
Not if you want to counter it effectively. It needs active engagement.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, the core message from all this material seems pretty unambiguous.
Yeah. Disinformation isn't just like annoying background noise anymore. It's a major growing corporate risk.
And it directly hits the ability to make sound, ethical decisions.
Boards and leaders who kind of ignore it, who hope it goes away, they're going to fall behind, they'll make bad calls, lose trust, face real consequences.
And this is the opportunity. Those who face it head on.
Right. By sharpening thinking, using the tools, building that skeptical culture, leading with integrity, putting policies in place, engaging collectively.
They can actually cut through the noise.
They can lead with real integrity, build trust that actually lasts, which is incredibly valuable today.
Which leaves us and leaves you with that really powerful, provocative question the sources end on. Something to think about in your own world.
Yeah, it's this.
Are you leading in the fog or are you cutting through it?
It's really a call to action, isn't it, for anyone trying to navigate this information-saturated world we live in.